It's too late.
It is way too late.
Okay, well, welcome. It looks like there are at least a few people online. And this is the beginning of the Potomac Valley Scottish Fiddle Club, Book 32. Can you believe how many years we've been doing Scottish Fiddle Club with monthly workshops? So there's a few people online, and you're welcome to write into the chat. I'll see it, but I won't necessarily type back. I'll probably just answer it verbally. And everybody here who's live, this is just like a regular live meeting. So we do our usual thing of learning a tune by ear. I teach phrases and you all play along until we've gone through a whole tune. We usually go through one tune relatively in detail, and it's typically not a hard tune. I try to select a more accessible tune to start with. And then I've got a range of things here. So some of the tunes are more difficult and some are fairly straightforward. And likewise, some are short and some are long. So we've got a little bit of something for everyone. But the theme, as is usual for our beginning of the season, and October is the start of our Fiddle Club season, which more or less runs with the academic year. Our theme in October has always been tunes everyone should know for jam sessions. So these are typically either very popular tunes or tunes that should be more popular, or tunes that I've just heard everybody playing in places that I've been. And I had just the luck of my schedule takes me to different places, and I managed to have a few really good sessions in different places this past year. So in February, I was in Boston, and I had one of the most wonderful sessions I've had in years at that place while I was there. And of course, I was recording a few things or taking notes on what got played and asking names of tunes and following up on that so that I could learn some new tunes myself, or at least see what people were interested in playing over there. Then there was a really great session at the Cape Breton Fiddle and Piping weekend in May. We actually had our Fiddle Club of May there, although it wasn't a great place to live stream from because there was no signal to be had. And then over the summer, I had a bunch of great sessions at the Ohio Scottish Arts School that combined fiddle, pipes, and harps. So not only what are Scottish fiddlers playing, but also what are the pipers and harps interested in at this point in time. And by this point, the places where this began to intersect, I was like, okay, those are the hot tunes for this year. And so a number of the tunes that we're learning today, I heard in more than one place. I also had some really nice sessions in Cape Breton this year. So I think that first of all, I want to give you one that's pretty straightforward. And so this is a song tune. And it's one that I've known for many, many years. So it doesn't get played at instrumental sessions so often, but if you were at a session that had singers at it, this is just one of those tunes that comes up. And it's from the Lowlands. It's called Aitken Drum. Aitken is a last name. I actually know somebody with that last name. And let me play it for you so you get to hear the whole thing. It's in the key of G, by the way. So relatively short, like I said. Yep. Mm-hmm. And like many song tunes, it's not too busy because the intervals are not jumping all over the place, because those kinds of things are hard to sing. So that's one advantage in learning song tunes on your instrument is they tend to go more linearly up and down the scale with small jumps, and they don't have a huge range, and they're not busy. So we always start with what are the pickup notes, and it's 2 pickup notes going right up the scale from the note G. And that's the first note of the first downbeat. So the first proper measure with the pickup notes is 3 B notes. Also, anytime if I'm going too fast, too slow, or you just have a question about the tune or its history or something technical about playing it, just ask, because there's probably more than one person who wants to know the answer. So just assume that it's a good question. All right, so we have our first measure. Next measure is similar in that it moves almost by way of scale, except we're skipping the note F sharp. So from A, and let me finish that little phrase. Just adding an E note. So from the beginning, okay, next bit, a G pickup note, and we're down to a D. And I realize that the video is not seeing my fingering. So let's fix that. Okay, and we're just about there with the end of the 4-bar phrase. So let's just add the end of that. We just had B-A-A. Ba. Adding the phrase in before, it's the 2-bar phrase there is. So far, so good? Any questions? Let's try the 4-bar phrase. How did this tune start? Yes. Start on G, go up the scale. 3 Bs. Hold the E. Let's do that again. Okay, good. So the next bit starts the very same way. So we're into the second 4-bar phrase, and it starts. And we just have a different ending. So far, we know everything. Let's play 6 bars. And here's the ending. If you've been in Fiddle Club for a while, you know that I'm not that great with the words of songs. And I can't remember any of the words of this song except that phrase, which is, and his name was Aiken Drum. So presumably the song is about what this guy Aiken Drum goes around doing. I really don't remember. But if the words help you remember the course of the tune, then by all means, learn them all. And I find it sometimes helps to know at least the rhythm of the words so that you remember how the rhythm is supposed to go. So let's just do that last 2-bar phrase again. And his name was Aiken Drum. So let's try the entire 8-bar phrase. This is the first half of the tune. So we're halfway through. Let's do it again. So, of course, you don't have to be playing a fiddle, a violin to play this tune. You can be playing it on any other instrument. Since it's a song, I have to warn you, often songs really don't care about our bowing needs. And so if the song ends you up with, and then you're like, uh-oh, I'm up-oh, now what do I do to get started again? Because I started this down bow. Well, you just have to deal with it. So you either put in a slur or take away a slur that you were doing before, or link the notes. So if you have, sometimes you need to link 2 of them together to get your bow feeling like it's going the comfortable direction. Or you can lift and place the bow back down where you want it to be. All of those are acceptable options, and there's no particular right or wrong way to do it. So it's just whatever works and is comfortable. And if you don't have to worry about your bow, yay. The singers only have to worry about breathing. So if you're playing a wind instrument, you basically have the same issue that the singers do, and they just cut short one of the longer notes and breathe there. And easy enough to do. We can breathe on fiddles too. Thank you. I'm glad somebody still laughs at my jokes. Okay. All right. Let's play through that A part again, and then we'll move on to the second half of the tune. Okay, the next part starts the same way, but then it goes somewhere else. So let's just play the very beginning, the first measure. Instead of going down, we're going to go up. That's a C note, so find that C. This is a C natural, by the way. Okay, so we just had the beginning with a. That's as far as we've gotten. Let's play that much. And I want to add what happens at the end of this measure. It goes up to the E and then right back to the C. Okay. So okay. Here's what's next. These are the notes in the G arpeggio. B and D and of course G. Okay, that is literally the last new thing in this tune. Everything else is repeated from the A part. So the beginning of the B part with new material. And this is how that phrase ended before. Ends the same way. Now, do you remember how the B part ended? The second phrase of the first part of the tune. Okay, that is the end of it. Yes, it started the same way as the first phrase. So let's play that because the B part ends the same way as the A part did. So both parts, same ending. Let's do that again. So putting our new material from the B part together with this ending, we'll get the second 8-bar phrase of the tune, the second and final, because that's it. This tune is short. So the last 8 bars, listen first, then we'll all play. Let's all play. it's different. I didn't teach that, did I? Oh, bad me. Okay. So now, yeah, everybody was following me, but I didn't actually teach it. Let me teach it. Thank you for catching me on that one. Yeah, instead of just doing, it does. It's one note different. Can I be forgiven for only leaving out one note? But it does make a difference, doesn't it? It has a different feel. If it's, sounds very different from.
It sounds like so much more lively.
It is. It's just so much more lively. But actually, this is the kind of compositional, technique, I guess I could say. You change something very small, and it actually propels the tune in a different direction. Now, in this case, it's propelling us to exactly the same ending, but now it sounds more final because we got there by doing da 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 instead of da 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 da, which sounds like it's a starter more than an ender. Okay, I think we should put the whole tune together. Now, I'm just going to do a little tour of the differences between the A part and the B part. So the A part, which you kind of recognize as sort of the thematic music for this piece. So relatively simple climb out. Same theme. In our ending. Going on, goes up high, arpeggio. The fancy version. And the same ending. Let's all play. Singing speed, and if you were doing it as a song, sure, you could do it at that speed. This tune does get used in two other ways, as a march and as a dance tune. So as a march, it would be a little faster because it's a quick step march, so you're probably meant to be walking with some purpose. And if it's dancing, then it's probably a little faster than the march. So let's try this both ways. Also, I'll just point out, for song purposes, no repeats, because that's how it works. There's a verse and a chorus, and the song would not, repeat the verse twice. Although you could repeat the chorus twice if you're wrapping things up, especially at the end. But it would be customarily verse, chorus, so just A, B, A, B. But if you're playing this for a march or for a dance tune, you're welcome to repeat the parts. Now, they're already kind of repetitive, but it just means you get more mileage out of the same notes. Yeah.
So if you were playing it with singers,
Hmm.
I mean, you would do that. Would they sing and then you'd would you alternate, or would you be playing while they're singing?
Oh, it can be both.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes. Singers like to be accompanied. Sometimes they don't want the melody to be part of that because that's their job. Sometimes they're happy to have melodic reinforcement. And the other thing that you can do if it's a song arrangement is to play an extra 4-bar tag. They just sang the chorus. And then instruments. Gives the singer time to breathe, and then we start with the next verse. So just adding an extra 4 bars from the end is a frequent custom. Sometimes it's just a few chords, just to give a couple of beats for the singer to gather their breath and remember, okay, and the next verse is the one about
And it makes some separation between the verses.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question. If
Yeah.
you were singing with or playing with singers, would you put ornaments in?
Yes.
Okay.
The singers would probably ornament the melody themselves. They'd use ornaments that are more vocal rather than, unique to the fiddle or pipes or flute or whatever instrument you're playing on. But yeah, singers in this tradition do ornament the melody.
And we could ornament.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So if you want me to talk about what I'm doing ornament-wise, I mean, it does depend whether I'm playing it as a song versus as a dance tune or a march. But probably I do more ornamentation for the march or dance tune version than I would for the singing version. So I'm putting in quite a few ornaments. Most of them seem to be this tapping thing because that's what a convenient ornament for the note where it falls on this instrument. I can do that type of ornament as well. And I'm definitely doing that kind of thing at the end of the phrase. Okay, let's play it a few more times. And we'll start song speed, and then I'll kind of change it into more of a march, and then I'll change it into a real-time dance tune.
But A-B.
Still A-B. We won't change that aspect. I was doing, and most of you were following along, when I played it as a march and as a dance tune, I didn't just hold that last note. Instead, it was because you need that second beat for the second footstep, whether you're marching or dancing. So, all right, that's Aitken drum. Everybody, welcome to Fiddle Club, and there's our first tune of the season, and I hope that was fun to play. Are you ready for something a little more involved? Yeah? Are you sure? No. Okay.
We'll reevaluate that.
Yeah, right.
After the fact.
All right. We can either go more complicated in terms of more parts, and I could give you a pipe march of 4 parts. None of the parts are hard.
I always have trouble remembering.
But there's 4 parts.
Between each part.
Or the other one is a tune that's a little bit harder. It's a reel, and it's only 2 parts.
I'd rather do the real.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll go for it. This tune is called Superfly.
Superfly.
It's by a guy named Kevin O'Neill, and I carefully wrote down where he was from. And then I left it somewhere on my desk, and it got covered over by another project. So I think he's from somewhere near Glasgow. To the best of what I recall. I actually wrote down the place name, but sorry, now I can't remember. This is the It tune. Yeah, this one I heard it being played in Boston, and I was like, oh, that's a good tune. And then at the Ohio Scottish Art School, it was the tune that the harp instructors were teaching everybody, and they played it at the concert. And of course, they played on harps, so they think this nice slow pace is very appropriate to the tune. Quite a little bit slower than I heard it in Boston. And then I've just been hearing it different places. So this tune is it. And I had something to do with that too, because I put it in the music that we played at TAC in Canada. So it got spread a little further. I could not resist. This is a major Scottish dance event. And the dance teacher actually specifically said, this dance has a part in it where you're supposed to swat the fly. And I was like, we got to do this too. And I don't know what they meant dance-wise, what they were doing with swatting the fly, because I didn't see anybody with fly swatters on the dance floor. But it was meant to be kind of this surprising moment of the dance. And so let me play Superfly for you, and then we'll learn it, and then you can decide if it's worth all the hype. I'll play it moderately because this can be played as the harp's interpreted it as a somewhat slow reel, or it can be like a supercharged reel, your choice. And etc.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
It reminds me of something else.
And maybe it reminds you of those tunes remind you of Superfly. It's also I was researching it because I was trying to find out if I could find out more than okay, I learned this from the harp players at Ohio Scottish Arts, and they played it in Boston, and they played it at these other places. I wanted to find out more about it. There are a number of videos of the hot Scottish bands playing this tune.
Mhm.
So now I can't. Gosh, the name
So, I
is
mean,
escaping me.
it's just really recent, right?
Yeah, I don't know how old the tune is,
Yeah,
as
this
in
is
when it
like-
was composed,
Right.
but it's definitely hot.
It's
now.
recently hot.
Yes, recently hot. Yeah, I'm sure people have been playing it for more years than that, and there are probably some people out there like, well, I've been playing Superfly for 8 years, you know. But it's hot now. There's no question about that. All right, so it's in the key of B minor, and so it's got a lot of B minor scale. However, let me think about this. There is just the two sharps you would expect in B minor: F sharp, C sharp, no G sharp. So it's not Dorian mode for those who keep track of modes. And so we do need to know a few tricks. It starts out with F, B to F sharp, and then right away it goes into a burl. So let's just get that F sharp. So the burl is a standard Scottish bowed ornamentation, and if you said it with a good Scottish accent, burl, it sounds like the rhythm you're aiming for. Okay, so from the beginning, it's this. And for reels, the bowing, unlike the tune that we just did, where I basically said you can bow it how you like, this one, it makes more difference. And I would definitely recommend starting down bow so that you burl down bow. It's a stronger burl if it's down bow near the tip of the, definitely above the midpoint of the bow. But that leaves you up here. And so it's typical to slur the next pair of eighth notes unless it's really inconvenient to do so. So that is in fact what I do here. Burl and then slur. Now, if you're not playing a fiddle, you can do whatever you want with this. It's probably less trouble, but slur. Okay, so far so good. Next bit. We landed on that note. It's actually the beginning of bar 2. It's a dotted quarter. So all scale work there. The next measure is essentially the same thing, moved one note down the scale. And end of phrase, end of 4-bar phrase. Okay, we have our 4-bar phrase. So let's put it together. I'll play it for you first. need one more thing, which is a turnaround to connect this 4-bar phrase to the next one. So that is at the end of the phrase. So you don't just hold out the B note. Instead, you do this turnaround of A, F sharp, A. Okay.
Can we do it with I don't see how it connects it. I'm sorry. Can we do it with the rest, the whole thing?
Yeah. Let's add that
Yeah.
to the entire 4-bar phrase, and it will allow us to connect to the beginning of the very next 4-bar phrase. So, do you want to hear how it's played?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's do that. Here we go. Okay, we have in fact learned the entire 8-bar B part, but I was very sneaky about it because I didn't actually teach you the second 4-bar phrase.
It's the 8 part.
The A part, this is a tune that gets a lot of mileage out of a few notes because it's essentially a 4-bar phrase with a different turnaround. So there's the turnaround that goes into the second 4-bar phrase, which is almost exactly the same. Most of you caught the one difference. And then it has a different turnaround for when you repeat the 8 bars versus going from the first 4 bars to the second 4 bars. So here are what the differences are. So we have our phrase. Untied. The turnaround. Then it's the same. Tied. Tied. And that's the start. So it's instead of at the end of the 4-bar phrase, at the end of the 8th bar, and that's the start over of the A part. All right?
Okay.
So it's really minor differences, and if you don't play them, nobody's going to issue a traffic ticket or anything like that. It's really okay to just kind of do it. Particularly that tied or untied, because that's really a matter of taste. And you'll probably find some version that somebody wrote down where it must be untied. No, we always play it tied, And then if you listen to live performances of it, you'll see them doing various things. And it might even be different on the repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided not to make a fuss about it. This is how the harp players at Ohio Scottish Arts were teaching it. And so I said, that's a good version. I'll use it.
So if you were sort of putting in a backbeat, wouldn't that come in the middle of some of those ties?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So would you,
if you're accompanying
make
it,
a tie, then
right? If you're accompanying it, you would be doing boom chuck right on in the middle of the tie. So as I'm playing that quarter note with a dot.
If you were playing it for a dance, would you want to put in as a fiddler?
Oh, you could put in those ties.
Or put in,
especially if you're playing with an accompanying instrument, because they're going to be doing.
If you're playing not with an accompanying.
If you're playing unaccompanied, I could put them in, but I would probably do something like. See how I'm emphasizing, even though I'm not untying it, but it's also pretty easy to. So it depends on what I'm trying to emphasize in the dance. All right, let's play this a few more times through. We've got half the tune, and we almost got it for a price of the quarter of the tune. So let's make hay. Are you ready for the next part? The next part is scales. It really is. It scales the entire way. And the only reason it's cool is it's because the scales don't match with the number of spaces in the bar. So that is the thing with this tune. So first it starts out with a scale. So let's do that scale. Next bit. Now we're still in the first bar because we only used 3 out of 4 beats in the bar, or really it's like 1.5 out of 2, but I'm going to count it 3 out of 4 for purposes of not saying half everywhere. So we had 5 notes. We're not done with the bar, but we are done with the scale. So we're going to go right back to the beginning of the scale again. So that right, I had to use up space, right? Because I at this point now I've reached I've used beat 4 of the previous bar, and then I'm at 1, 2, but I don't want to just repeat, No. So it does something more sophisticated than that. So that the emphasis comes at the same point. The high point comes at the same part of the bar, again, early. Okay, so the second scale. So climb the 5 notes of the scale. Back to the first note. And then the quarter note is a G, one note higher. So 2 bars put together.
Are you putting in a slur somewhere?
Yeah, I am. After each quarter note is where I'm putting in a slur. Okay, but wait, there's more. And it starts with the same scale. So we're now leading into bar 3. This time you go to a D. And the next note is A. Okay, so here's the sophisticated thing about this tune is that it's climbing, it does this repetitive thing, but it keeps climbing where the emphasized note is. F sharp. Okay, but this is not over. This phrase is not meant to stop on that A, unlike the one that stops on F sharp and stops on G. So I said scale work, right? So we will do our climb up where we land on the A. It's right down the scale and back to A. Next bit, start on G and do the same figure. And the next figure, start on F sharp and go down. Yeah, because that's the downbeat again. So the 3 figures starting with the A, then the G, then the F sharp. Yes, I'll let you add the B. It's in the next bar, but I'll let you add it because otherwise it's just hanging. Same thing from the high A. And this is another thing. We have, in fact, completed a 4-bar phrase. It doesn't feel like it because it was divided up oddly. We did the thing that goes up to the F sharp. Took less than a bar. I played the wrong note. Also, the bar is incomplete. The bar is still definitely incomplete. And that is, in fact, the right number of beats for 4 bars of music. It just is divided up in this wacky way. So you have 3 things and then 3 things that are shorter.
Yeah,
And it adds up to
feel
4
like
bars.
I don't know where I am. I kind of have the part.
Well, that
so I
is
don't really
exactly
feel where I am.
that is exactly the point of this tune, is to have you not know for sure where you are. So that's the trick of it. That's why the tune has, that's why it's cool, right? This is why it's caught on, is that it has this sort of trick that tricks your ear into thinking somehow you've played the wrong number of notes or wrong number of bars. But in fact, it's all very the usual 4-bar phrases. Okay, so let's try putting this business together. No faster though. So it's climb the scale, right? Climb the scale from B. Climb the scale back down in G. Let's do it again. Again. Yeah.
Concentration.
So, good news. The B part consists of 2 identical 4-bar phrases.
Okay.
When you come up with something that cool for 4 bars, you might as well reuse it.
So when we just played, what we were just playing, when we got back to that was the start again. That wasn't the last.
It was the start of the next 4-bar phrase. The way I have it written out is 8 bars with a repeat sign, so you play 16, but you're really playing 4 bars 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
But I made it visually easier, and you don't have to remember, dang, is this the part that I repeat 4 times? And did I do it 2 or 3 or 4 times? Yeah, or 5. Right. So if you lay it out so that it's just 8 bars, play twice, it's a little easier to keep track. But in fact, it's the same. Now, accompanying. If you're playing this for a dance, it's pretty standard. Boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck. But if you're playing it at a session or a non-dancing situation, you can do all kinds of crazy things with the accompaniment. And I'll try to give an idea of. Yeah. So you could do all kinds of stuff to make it sound even wilder than it already is. Okay, let's go back to the beginning and remember how this tune started and put the parts together.
Okay.
How did it start? B, F sharp, and a burl. Right. Right. Yay! You got the answer right. enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
never get the end of the B part back into the A. I always kept doing something wrong, and I kept going by too fast. Now it's like, oh, I'm wrong. What? Oh well.
Yeah.
What number you're on? So it's like, okay.
Oh yeah, because we're not looking at the music.
You're not
so
looking
you
at
have
the
to-
music.
You do have to count.
That right. You do have to count
That's
for it.
crazy.
You have to have that is sort of tune chronometer, right?
Yes.
The one that tells you I have played 32 bars. It is time to go on. Yeah. So that kind of comes with experience, especially experience with this tune. And so yeah, I didn't want to play it full speed the first time I tried playing it either. Unfortunately, it was at that Boston session, and it was full speed. This tune was definitely full speed. But like I said, it could be played as a slow reel. It'd be a very effective slow reel. So if you want to do it that way, sure, good idea. All right. Are you ready for another tune by ear, or are you ready for some sheet music?
Sheet music.
Sheet music! Somehow I expected that reply. Basil, do you have a sign-up
Yes,
sheet?
I do have a sign-up sheet. You could
Okay.
sign up for this first session of year 32.
Wow, year 32. Hard to
Yeah.
believe it.
If you are here, sign your name and
If you're not
check.
here, don't.
Okay,
The column
take
that
one
says
and pass them along. These are not
October.
pre-collated. So just
Okay.
one.
We'll start up there.
And-
Start up there and send it around. Put your name and check October. Just sign your name.
Right.
First line
And
there.
this sheet music is also available online. Currently, if you go to the homepage of Fiddle Club, there's a link for it. So you can just click on that and get this music now. If you're checking and watching the video later, for example, the link may not be active anymore and you'll need to go to the members section to acquire the music. There are 4 pages total. And which one?
This is page one.
Great. That's being played in Irish
Yeah.
session.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nexus.
I'll just wait for things to come around. I guess I could do a couple of different announcements. Next month, Fiddle Club is the second Sunday, which, if I were looking at a calendar, I could tell you the actual date. Let me look at an actual calendar. That may be true.
Is that what they are, the leftovers?
Okay, so next month, the second Sunday is November 10th. And the details are being worked out, but we may have a guest musician workshop on the 10th with Keith Smith, who is one of my favorite Scottish fiddlers.
Nice.
And so we'll be letting you know about the details of that. You may remember last year we had Shona McFadden teaching a special workshop on the same Sunday, the second Sunday of November.
Right.
So we'll be working out what the details are with Keith Smith's portion of the workshop. And the Fiddle Club board is going to discuss this because we have not yet worked it out. But we'll be letting you know about that workshop, but stay tuned. All right, does everybody have the music? So let's just go to page 1. This is the 4-part pipe march I was thinking of teaching you by ear. The Braes of Melanish. And when I first heard it played, which was at the Ohio Scottish Arts session, Wendy Stewart introduced it. And I had heard it before, but I never knew what it was called. And Wendy used to play. She's a harp, magnificent harp player, just absolutely wonderful. She also sings, and she plays other instruments, concertina, quite frequently. Anyway, she played in the Scottish band Kilbeck, which I don't know if they still are active. She's not touring with them anymore, but back in the day, they were one of the big bands. They didn't tour in North America much. But if you were listening to Celtic music programs, they turn up quite frequently. So I was really familiar with their music. But I didn't know Wendy back when she was touring with them. But I've known her for a number of years through Ohio Scottish Arts. Anyway, Wendy introduced this, and it's a tune that can be played easily. I'm using that term with some caveats. It can be played easily on fiddle, harp, and pipes. The only thing is, for pipes, this is a tremendously difficult tune because of the types of notes and intervals involved in the melody. So when I looked it up on piping sources, they were like, yeah, that's difficult. And that kind of goes with what happened when Wendy introduced the tune. A lot of the harpers were like, oh yeah, I can play along with this. And the fiddlers were like, okay, we can play along with this. And the pipers who played along were the instructors, who are basically, so the hotshot pipers knew this tune, and it's obviously a favorite. One of the comments that I saw in Piping World about this was that it's quite difficult, but worth the trouble, is kind of how they put it. So I'll play it for you so you get an idea how this tune goes. Yeah, it would sound really great on the pipes. Plus, in especially the third and fourth parts, the lower notes are really loud and the higher notes kind of disappear.
Oh.
So if you look at the rhythm that the low notes make, it's this kind of syncopated feel. There's nothing actually syncopated about the tune, but it has that feel because the loud notes on pipes kind of bop in there at certain offbeat moments. So it's a really cool tune. All right, let's go ahead and play Braes of Melanish. And I looked up where Melanish is, and I've forgotten. See, this is what I didn't bring my notes. Oh well. Let's assume it's somewhere Highlandy.
What are Braes again?
What are Braes? Braes are like high lands, but they're not mountains. All right. And I see that it'd probably be a great idea to send this music stand over here so that you can make use of it. All right. So you didn't want to learn that one by ear. I learned it by ear. I had to learn it at a session. No, I know it's 4 parts.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that the 3rd and 4th parts are totally worth it, they are harder to play, especially for fiddle part 3.
Yeah.
I find part 3 more challenging than part 4.
That where you go from the G to the A in the middle of the 3, that one I could never get. I could either be on G or I could be on A.
And that's a characteristic of this tune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it won't be that hard to execute once you have it, you know.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah. Probably.
Right. If you get the fingerings for this on whatever instrument you're playing, totally worth it. Great effect. But yeah, a little trickier. All right, on page 2, we have another 4-part pipe march. Now, pipers consider this one a jig. However, it gets played as a march. So I have been hearing it being played by pipers playing series of 6/8 march tunes. And it's one of the ones that is in the mix. So despite the fact that if you look in a piping book, such as Scott's Guards Book 2, where I made sure that I had the right version, correct version of this tune. They have it in the jig section, but I've been hearing it played amongst 6/8 marches, which is not that unusual. There's a little bit of wiggle between what is a jig and what is a 6/8, and fiddlers are the worst at taking 6/8 marches and playing them as jigs. Tunes that we think of as jigs, like Athol Highlanders, are really 6/8 marches, and especially when you take them to a session and they get sped up, they don't sound much like 6/8 marches anymore. So this is one that's kind of going in the other direction because people like playing it slowly, a little slower with the dottedness. Now, Braes of Melanish, the version I gave you, only had right at the beginning dotted, but if you were listening or paying attention to the style and following along, I was playing dotting throughout, which is the style for 6/8. So we're going to do the same thing with Kenny Gillies of Portin' Along Sky. And I have been hearing this tune without knowing its name for years. And then this June, I was playing in the Midwest, and the piper who came to play the Grand March for the event.
Oh.
I actually have this great picture. It's like a little live video thing without sound. But he was warming up outdoors, and this is going to sound awful, but it was magical. It's mayfly time in June in Wisconsin. And so there are all these mayflies dancing around in the air. So he's piping, and there's this cloud of sun-dazzled mayflies. It's like fairy sparkles coming out of the pipes. It's an amazing. Anyway, he played this one and 2 other pipe marches that I'd never heard before. And he was a great piper, and he also knew. I just asked him, "What are the names of those?" And he told me, "It was this," and I recognized the Kenny Gillies, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been meaning to learn that tune." So I finally did. And the other 2 unknown to me before tunes, eventually we'll probably see them in Fiddle Club. So have no fear. Sooner or later, I'm sure I'll teach them here. All right, let me play you Kenny Gillies of Portin' Along Sky. Okay, so this is a standard form for 6/8 marches to have 4 parts. The A part and the C part are variants of one another. Frequently, they are just 8 bars repeated. The B part and the D part are also variants of one another, and they have an extended form that often borrows the ending of the A part. And this does the further trick of having a variant of that ending for the final ending of the D part. So very standard pipe march format, and yet this thing was considered a jig. So pipers play the jigs with less dotting. So I guess this tune must be playable without the dotting and with less, a slightly greater speed is how the pipers would play it as a jig, as opposed to the 6/8. We're going to dot it and never play it too fast. Nice marching speed. Do you want to take it a little slow for our first read through?
So.
Yeah. Okay, let's take it about 1, 2, ready. So if you learn that one, not only do you get a nice 4-part pipe march, it can double as a jig in a pinch, and it's one that is really quite popular amongst pipers these days. So you'll definitely be hearing it. Okay, 250 to Vigo is by Angus R. Grant, and this is definitely one of those ones that's hit the session scene and is played all over. As Sandy was saying, it's played at Irish sessions, but it is a Scottish tune because Angus Rory Grant is from Fort William area, Scotland. So this is the Highlands. His father is Angus Grant, spelled Gaelic style. So Aonghas, I think is how Angus spells his name. And the R is for Rory. So Angus Rory is how Angus Senior would have
Junior.
referred to him rather than Angus Jr. And he played in the band Shuglanifty, which is sort of a Celtic rock band, very popular and lots of followers. And so stuff that they recorded and used to perform, I guess they still perform, but unfortunately, I need to tell you, Angus R. Grant passed away in 2016.
Oh.
So he died quite young. He's somebody about my age, except 10 years ago, right? So I don't know exactly what happened, but it's sad that we lost him so early. This tune, unlike Superfly, which sounds like it has all these funky rhythms in it, this one has the actual yes written in. It has syncopations. However, it was customary that Angus himself and his band Shuglanifty would play it as a slow reel, not as a fast reel. So I don't know in sessions whether it's gets played as a fast reel. When it came up in sessions that I've been to, it's played as a slow reel. Sandy, is it both? You've heard it play both ways?
Yeah, in a mixed group, sort of like a both.
Mm-hmm.
People who know it well love to play it fast, but both.
Yeah. So this one came up in the Boston session, and despite the fact that there's a certain faction of the Boston group that likes to play things as fast as can be, this was played as a slow reel. So we're going to go with the slow reel version, and I won't stop you if you want to learn to play it as a fast reel, but I'm not going to. I will just comment, the Boston Harbor Scottish Fiddle School ran for a number of years, and although it's now defunct, there's kind of a one that sort of stands in a similar place, which is the Boston States School Fiddle Workshop. Yeah, something like that Katie McNally runs. Anyway, when Boston Harbor was running, they'd have multiple sessions, and there was because they taught at different levels. They'd have classes for everything from new to the fiddle or relatively new to super duper fast expert. So the super duper fast session would literally play everything fast. And I felt out of place not being, under age 25 attending this session. But you don't, just because at a session like that, everything is played fast, you don't have to play it fast. All right, enough preliminaries. Let me play the tune for you. and then we're back to the beginning. So there are quite a few people who don't detect that the B part and the D part are not the same. They're
Okay.
similar, but they're not actually the same. Most people do figure out the A part and the C part are different, because they're quite different. But anyway, what does the name mean? I should explain that before we learn it. So Angus Rory lived in Spain for about a year at some point, and Vigo is in northern Spain in Galicia on the north coast. And a 250 refers to a 250cc motorcycle engine.
Oh.
He rode on the back of a 250 motorcycle to Vigo. Apparently not very fast, but I can't say for sure. Anyway, so that is what the title means, and that's also why I didn't write it down. To TWO 50, because it's 250cc engine. Nobody would ever write that out in words in motorcycle land. So we are not going to write it out in words. It's just in numbers. Okay, let's try playing it. A little slower than I did it, but that pace that I gave you is a nice slow real pace. Okay, so that's 250 to Vigo. And by the way, a 250 is not a very high powered motorcycle, but it's not like underpowered particularly either. It's considered a good, kind of like basic motorcycle. Yeah, and it doesn't specify what. There are lots of different motorcycle makers who make 250s, so we don't really know what kind of motorcycle this was. All right, Donald Don. This is another song tune. Again, it could be used as a march and it could be used as a dance tune, or you could just play the song version. I think the song is from Dundee. And I'm not sure why I think that. so I'll have to go look it up and see if I have any basis for thinking that. But it's good to know sometimes whether your tune is, is it Highland tune? Is it from the Gaelic singing tradition? No, this is definitely a Lowland singing tradition tune. All right, let me play Donald Don for you. So second time through, I was definitely playing it more marchy. And that's probably my inclination, is to play it more as a march. I'm sure it gets sung, but I don't hear it sung as often as Aiken Drum would get sung. And I do hear it used as a march tune or as a dance tune. All right, let's play it. Yeah, that's a sweet little tune. All right, let's move on. Page 4. Cuddy's Wedding, which I'm surprised, but we have not had this in Fiddle Club.
Really?
Yeah, we have.
Maybe only in a dance, but
Yeah, but it should have been in the music.
Yeah, it should be in the index if it was in
So
a.
maybe it's not in the index.
Ah.
There, I have found ones that weren't in the index.
Oh, well, you need to tell me about these ones not in the index, because that could happen. We've been keeping this index for 32 years, and it's not the most. There's human error can creep in over the course of that time. So maybe it is. If so, it hasn't been for a while. And we are allowed to repeat them occasionally. I actually have looked, we're closing in on 2,000 tunes taught in Fiddle Club. And I made a list recently of repeats, and that includes repeats where the versions are significantly different, but it's still the same tune. And there's probably less than 100 that have been repeated. So you're really getting your money's worth with the Fiddle Club. And every time I think, oh, we're going to run out of, tunes, or at least well-known tunes, or I'm going to have to, like pretend that these are popular tunes because we've used all the really actual. No, I haven't even come close. I still have lists and lists of tunes that I need to include in the tunes everyone should know in October. And then there are tunes that are maybe not that everybody needs to know, but would be great to know. And that covers just about everything else. I'm not even close to running out of good tunes to teach at Fiddle Club. So
We were worried, so that's good.
Yeah.
I know you were worried. Yeah. Yep. So anyway, back to Cuddy's wedding. If we have had it before, and I know we have probably played it at the dances. I don't know. I play this tune a lot at dances, but I can't say whether it was with Fiddle Club or not.
Yeah, I know. That's
Anyway, if we haven't had it before, it's about time. And if we have, then it's not been for a while, so still about time. It's a pipe tune. And that would have been a good one to teach by ear also. But we went for Superfly instead, and then people said no. So let's go for Cuddy's wedding now. Let's start it a little under tempo. All right. And it gives you no choice but to go on to something else in B minor, such as, for example, Superfly. Just to name a tune that for some reason I can't fathom just pops into my head. All right, the Milburn. So this is a traditional reel that has been making the rounds. And it sounds like it could be by Scott Skinner, but it's not. It's by James Fraser. And we actually did a James Fraser feature about 6 years ago in Fiddle Club. And oddly enough, I didn't include the Milburn. And I don't know why, because I did a sort of a co-feature of James Fraser and Joseph Lowe.
Mhm.
And all of James Fraser's tunes first appear in Joseph Lowe's collection. So I'm assuming that they knew each other and that they were of a similar era, which would put them in the, sort of first half 1800s. So this tune Milburn, though, has showed up at jam sessions just as one of those hot tunes. So, 170-year-old hot tune, something like that. So, I mean, if I were going to put it in a medley, I probably would medley it with a bunch of Scott Skinner tunes.
Yeah, that's kind of that.
Yeah, it would fit in really nicely with some of those. All right, let's try it not too fast, because this is a tune to be savored. I guess that's kind of a feature of the reels that I chose, is that they all can be played slower than dance tempo and sound good that way. like it really needs a grand chord in the end, right? So just to clarify the use of the Scottish terms, a burn or burn is a stream.
Mhm.
So this is a water mill with a stream that powers the mill, the mill wheel, which turns the flour grinding stones. So, and just as a little side note, this area that I live in has all these streets, old roads named something Mill, Roxbury Mill, Carroll Mill. And so this is a water mill type of area, which, makes sense. This is a hilly place. And the mills all relied on the stream having a certain drop in elevation, and they would basically dam up the stream and channel it up high until it got to the top of their water wheel, and then it would drop down to where, if it had just round downhill, there it would be. And so all of these places where water mills were established had this kind of drop in elevation, so they're all in hilly territory in one way or another. So a mill burn is the Scottish term for a stream. Robert Burns. It's like Johann Sebastian Bach, whose name also means stream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bach is German for stream. Yeah. Mr. Creek, Mr. Brook. Anyway, right. So the Mill Burn by James Fraser, and let's just play our ear tunes one more time, right? Let's go ahead with Superfly. And Aitken drum. All right, so that's our tunes for October. And we have a couple of things to do in the live portion of the meeting, which is our annual general meeting of members. But I'm going to sign off to those of you on the live stream. Thank you for coming, and see you next month on November 10th.
We have a new member here.